Well, hello and welcome to News Hour on Voice of the People TV. I am Vivian Oguche. Before we begin the news, kindly visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Here are the headlines. Reps to investigate error in 2025 UTME. Ohaneze rejects JAMB reset plan. Reps move to make voting compulsory for all Nigerians. And Senate sets up 20-man committee for National Security Summit. Federal government dismisses alleged illegal deductions from student loans. An appeal court reserves judgments in Edo-Gov election dispute. On the foreign scene, Israeli strikes across Gaza kill 114 people. And business Nigeria's inflation rate drops to 23.7%. And in sports news, South Africa beat Flying Eagles to reach first final in 28 years. And in the world of entertainment, alleged cyberbullying, police rearraign a very dark man. Now the news in detail. The House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the technical error that led to the mass failure of a 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination. And the resolution followed the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance sponsored by Representative Adewale Adebayo. While moving the motion in plenary, Adebayo noted that many candidates and their families endured long-distance travels to the examination centers, only to face unexpected failures. He called for an investigation into the technical lapses to prevent future occurrences. Contributing to the motion, Sada Soli, a lawmaker from Katsina, commended the JAMB registrar for his transparency in admitting the error and apologizing to Nigerians. He also acknowledged Oloyede's role in improving the board's revenue since its appointment. However, Tajuddin Abbas, the Speaker of the House, stated that it will be left to the committee conducting the investigation to decide whether or not to officially commend the JAMB registrar for his actions. The House further urged the federal government to establish computer-based test centers in all local government areas across the country to ease access to examination centers. Meanwhile, the youth wing of the Apex Igbo Socio-Cultural Organization, Ohaneze Ndigbo Youth Council Worldwide, has rejected the decision by the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board to schedule a fresh examination for candidates affected by what it termed errors in the recently released Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination results. JAMB Registrar Professor Ishak Oloyede had on Wednesday admitted that technical errors led to unusually low scores for candidates in the 5 Southeast states and Lagos State, and announced that the board had commenced arrangements to reschedule the exam for the affected candidates. Reacting in a statement, the national president of Ohaneze Ndigbo Youth Council Worldwide, Oku Unabuike, described the decision as totally unacceptable. The group also demanded that 300 scores be awarded to all affected candidates from the Southeast. He said it was a disservice for JAMB to subject the candidates to what he described as another round of mental torture, stress, and risk for no fault of theirs. In a related development, former Anambra Governor and 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi has decried the 2025 Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board examination glitch. Obi expressed concerns over the recent technical glitches that marred the release of results affecting nearly 380,000 candidates across the country. Obi called for the reform of public institutions in the country to avoid sensitive glitches that might turn to a national crisis, while speaking with some journalists in Oka, Anambra State. He commended the JAMB registrar for his rare show of responsibility and accountability in admitting the error and expressing remorse. The former Anambra State governor described the gesture as a commendable act, but noted that such high glitch posed a deeper challenge that depicted fragility of Nigeria's institutional systems. In the meantime, mixed reactions are trailing the admission by the Joint Admission Matriculation Board of error in the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, which affected thousands of candidates. VOP TV's Matthew Ogunswada has more in this report.
Matriculation Board, JAMB, has ordered a receipt for 379,997 candidates in Lagos and the Southeast due to a major technical error during the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination. A review conducted in partnership with Educare Technical Team revealed that outdated server patches in the Lagos server led to answer validation mismatches. While the required upgrades were successfully deployed in the Kaduna cluster, they were omitted in the Lagos cluster, which services both Lagos and the Southeast, thereby making the glitch affect 157 centers across the two regions. Out of the 1.9 million candidates who sat for the UTME, over 1.5 million scored below 200, prompting widespread concern. The affected candidate results were invalidated after internal and external audits confirmed systemic errors in marking. However, JAMB Registrar Professor Ishaq Oloyede, who chaired the technical review session in Abuja, admitted the board's failure and confirmed that the affected candidates would be given a fresh opportunity to retake the examination. He assured that new deployment protocols and real-time monitoring would be introduced to prevent future occurrences. As Voice of the People TV, we are on the street to get the opinion of Nigerians towards this new development.
I think they should do better in the system because I know that's what they gave to me last time. I spent the whole night reading. I tried my best. I think they should help us. Help with our system. Try. Questions will not complete. We have 55 questions in English and number 1 to 10 we should try and help us with English. Everybody give a second chance. Right?
What I see is part of the world. But what I can see is it's not everybody that knows about development. Maybe they have to just let us give us a tutorial on how to work with the computer system, how to lecture us about this new system that is going on.
Now, the way they say their question is easy, but the answer, like now, is a question of this thing, concentration of energy. Now, the answer is like kinetic energy, another definition, another name for example of kinetic energy. The question is making it hard to answer for the students. That is one of the things that I had problem with exam, but I'm happy that I think I got so to help them. And again, to help them in the best now that they read for the first time and they know their mistake.
As we've heard from citizens, many Nigerians have expressed frustration over the systemic error, especially those directly affected. However, JAMB insists that the receipt is necessary in order to ensure fairness and integrity process in the examination. Matthew Ogunswada, reporting for Voice of the People TV.
Well, thank you, Matthew. In another development, a bill seeking to amend the Electoral Act 2022 to make voting mandatory for all eligible Nigerians has passed the second reading in the House of Representatives. The bill, jointly sponsored by Speaker Tajuddin Abbas and Daniel Ago, was presented during plenary. While leading the debate, Ago explained that the legislation aims to boost citizens' participation in elections, arguing that it could help reduce voter apathy if it successfully passes all legislative stages. However, Mark Esset, a member of the People's Democratic Party representing Akwa Ibom State, expressed reservations. He argued that merely mandating citizens to vote would not be sufficient to reform the electoral system. And now the Senate has constituted a planning committee to organize a high-level summit on national security aimed at addressing Nigeria's growing security challenges. The committee is to be chaired by the Senate leader, Senator Okpeyemi Bamidele, while Senator Yahaya Abdullahi has been appointed to serve as deputy chairman. The committee is expected to convene the summit and present its report within 2 weeks. The planned summit is expected to bring together key stakeholders in the nation's security architecture to develop a coordinated and sustainable approach to tackling insecurity across the country. And still in the Red Chamber, the Senate has called on the federal government to urgently deploy security forces to secure the release of James Ogunyada, the Obaloun of Oloke, who was abducted from his palace in Yagba local government area of Kogi State. The resolution followed a motion moved by Sunday Karimi, senator representing Kogi West, during plenary. Senator Karimi said the monarch was abducted by unknown gunmen who stormed the palace. He said the incident had caused widespread panic in the community as gunshots were fired to scare residents. During the debate, lawmakers expressed alarm over the incident and stressed the urgent need for coordinated action by all security agencies to ensure the monarch's safe return. Lawmakers recommended better support and remuneration for vigilante groups, recognizing their role in grassroots security. Barao Jibrin, Deputy Senate President and Presiding Officer, described the abduction as an affront to the authority of the state and the nation. Still in the news, Minister of Education Tunji Alausa says there were no illegal deductions from student loans disbursed by the Nigerian Education Loan Fund. Reports earlier surfaced alleging significant misappropriation within Nigeria's student loan scheme. Speaking during a meeting with education stakeholders in Abuja, Alausa said findings from official investigations failed to validate speculations about misappropriation of NEL Fund monies. And this report says that the Court of Appeal Abuja has reserved judgments in 3 appeals and a cross-appeal challenging the outcome of the September 21 governorship election held in Edo State, in which the Independent National Electoral Commission declared Monday Opeolo of the All Progressives Congress as winner. A 3-man panel of the court, presided over by Justice Mohammed Danjuma, reserved the date to be communicated to the parties after their final arguments. The appeals head includes the one filed by the People's Democratic Party and its candidate in the election, and a cross-appeal by the APC and Opeolo. 2 other appeals were also heard, one filed by Action Alliance and its national chairman, and another filed by One Bright and Abulele, an Accord party. Still on a legal note now, Justice Daniel Osiago of the Federal High Court in Lagos has convicted 10 Thai nationals for trafficking 32.9 kilograms of cocaine into Nigeria. The convicted individuals, all sailors, were found guilty alongside their vessel MV Shayanee, which was used to smuggle the illicit drug into the country. The vessel and convicted sailors were first arraigned before the court alongside 9 Nigerians on the alleged offenses in February 2022 by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. The vessel, the convicted sailors, and the 9 Nigerians were arrested on October 13, 2021 at Apapa, Lagos, on their arrival from Brazil. Meanwhile, the trial of the 9 Nigerians have been adjourned to June 25. Well, you're still watching News Hour on Voice of the People TV. More stories after this break. Stay with us.
Good morning. It's the start of a beautiful day. Or start your day right with a healthy dose of news, fun, and inspiration. Join us on VOP this morning for the latest news, trending topics, and uplifting stories to set your day on the right vibe. From news and current events to lifestyle and entertainment, you are covered. VOP This Morning, 8 a.m., Monday through Friday.
Welcome back to News Hour on Voice of the People TV. Now, the Economic Community of West African States Court has ordered the federal government of Nigeria to release a Nigerian businessman, Moses Abiodun, who has been in detention since 2009 without trial. The court also ordered the Nigerian government to pay 20 million naira compensation to the victim for what it described as the multiple violations of his fundamental human rights. Abiodun had in the suit alleged that he was arrested by operatives of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad Police Unit in November 2008. According to the applicant, he has never been formally charged, tried or convicted of any offense throughout the 16 years that he was in custody. The Nigerian government in its submission before the community court, however, denied the allegations. Delivering judgment, the court held that the prolonged detention of the applicant constituted a grave violation of his rights to liberty. The three-member panel of the court was presided over by its Vice President, Justice Shengu Koroma, while the judgment was read by Justice Edward Ashante with Justice Egberibe Watara as member. And here in Lagos, the state government has restricted construction activities across the state to between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. Mondays to Saturdays. The directive was announced by the Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development, Oloyinka Olumide, in a statement that was issued by the agency's Director of Public Affairs, Michaela Sanusi. Olumide stated that the restriction was necessary to safeguard the environment, reduce incidences of building collapse, and promote the overall well-being of residents. He acknowledged the dynamic nature of building projects and noted that any request to work beyond the stipulated hours must be made through a formal application and should be considered on a case-by-case basis. The Commissioner also called on residents to remain vigilant and proactive by reporting any construction sites that violate the new directive. On a rather unfortunate note now, 2 persons have been gruesomely murdered at Igbebelu village, Nanka, in Urumba North local government area of Anambra State, by yet to be identified armed men operating on a motorcycle. Reports say one of those murdered has been identified as a legal practitioner who had earlier secured the bail of an accused person in a pending murder case at a high court in Ekulobia. The Anambra State Police Command, in a statement by its Public Relations Officer, SP Ikenga Tochukwu, says the State Commissioner of Police, Ikyoye Otugu, led a team of senior officers on a visit to the crime scene. SP Tochukwu disclosed in the statement that preliminary investigations suggest that the victims were attacked while returning from the court session after being trailed and double-crossed by the assailants. Well, may the souls of the departed rest in peace. Moving on now, Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has emphasized on the pivotal role of agriculture in ensuring food security, job creation, and wealth generation. Tinubu, represented by the wife of the Delta State Governor, Tobere Oboroweri, spoke during the distribution of farm inputs and financial grants to 400 farmers in Asaba, Delta State, under the Agricultural Support Program of the Renewed Hope Initiative. Organized in collaboration with the Umata Charity Foundation, the Renewed Hope Initiative targets women, cooperative farming groups, the youth, and secondary school pupils. According to the First Lady, the initiative aims to boost food production, improve household incomes, and reduce economic hardships through home gardening. Highlighting her personal experience of cultivating crops at her residence, she urged Nigerians to grow their own food, while enjoining beneficiaries to embrace the opportunity to move from scarcity to abundance. On her part, Mrs. Oborobere noted that empowering farmers is not just an intervention, but a necessity that would reposition agriculture as a viable and transformational enterprise in Delta State and the country at large. Coming up next, foreign business, sports, and entertainment stories after the show break. Stay with us.
To know the happenings in the maritime sector, join us on the program Maritime Frontiers on VOP TV as we discuss key areas in the maritime sector from aquaculture, maritime transportation, maritime labor regulation, oil and gas exploration, ferry and passenger insurance, marine pollution and prevention, port operations, and lots more.
Join me on Sundays every 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Voice of the People TV.
Maritime Frontiers, exploring Nigeria's blue economy.
Welcome back. On the foreign scene now, at least 114 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli airstrikes across the Gaza Strip. 56 people, including women and children, were killed when homes and tents sheltering displaced families were bombed overnight in the southern city of Khan Yunis. The Israeli military said it struck Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad fighters in southern Gaza. The Hamas-run Civil Defense Agency also reported deadly strikes in the northern town of Jabalia, including an attack on a health clinic and prayer hall in Jabalia refugee camp that it said killed 13 people. Israeli forces have been intensifying their bombardment of what they say are Hamas fighters and infrastructure ahead of a planned expansion of their ground offensive in Gaza. Meanwhile, a pregnant Israeli woman has been shot and killed in what Israeli authorities say was a terrorist attack in the north of the occupied West Bank. Zila Gez was being driven to a hospital by her husband, Hananel, to give birth when a gunman opened fire on their car near their home in the settlement of Bruchin. Doctors who performed an emergency cesarean section delivered the baby in a serious but stable condition, but they were unable to save Gez's life. Meanwhile, Defense Minister Israel Katz said he had ordered the Israeli military to identify the origin of the attackers and respond with maximum force. There was no immediate claim from any Palestinian armed groups, but Hamas praised the attack as a heroic response to Israel's escalating crimes and ongoing aggression against people in Gaza and the occupied West Bank. May Gaza's soul rest in peace. Well, still in the news, U.S. President Donald Trump took his bid to end birthright citizenship to the U.S. Supreme Court in a case that could help further his agenda on immigration and other issues. The case asks whether lower court judges should be able to block presidential orders for the entire country, as they have done in this case. The justices did not appear to reach a consensus as they considered both sides. The U.S. Solicitor General argued that lower courts overstepped their authority, saying this power should be curtailed. Meanwhile, the New Jersey Solicitor General, arguing on behalf of a group of states, said siding with Trump would create a patchwork system of citizenship. Still in the U.S., a Texas mother has been arrested for allegedly buying ammunition and tactical gear for her son, who she knew was planning mass-targeted violence at his school. Prosecutors say Ashley Pardo was aware of her son's obsession with violence and intentionally and knowingly aided his violent goals in exchange for him babysitting his younger siblings. The mother was arrested the same day after the boy's grandmother called police to say Pardo had bought the gun for him. In another development, the World Health Organization has begun a major structural downsizing of its workforce, cutting departments and leadership as part of efforts to align with its newly revised budget for the 2026-2027 biennium. WHO's Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus disclosed the changes in a statement. This follows WHO's recent announcement of a 21% cut to its proposed budget from $5.3 billion to $4.2 billion amid declining donor contributions and global financial constraints. Dr. Ghebreyesus disclosed in the statement that the WHO is undertaking sweeping structural reforms, including reducing the number of departments, slashing senior management positions, and cutting salary expenditures by 25%. Elsewhere, police in Mexico have arrested a retired judge accused of tampering with evidence related to the disappearance of 43 students from Iguala more than a decade ago. Lambertina Martin was the president of the Superior Tribunal of Justice in the state of Guerrero when the trainee teachers went missing in 2014. The 79-year-old is suspected of having given an order that led to the disappearance of CCTV footage, which investigators said was key to the case. She was arrested in the city of Chimpachingo 3 years after a warrant for her arrest had been issued. And away from the report, a 23-year-old Mexican social media influencer, Valeria Marquez, was shot and killed while live streaming on TikTok at her beauty salon in Guadalajara. The Jalisco State Prosecutor's Office reported that the man entered the salon in the Zapopan suburb and fired at Marcus during her live stream. The video shows her sitting at a table holding a stuffed animal moments before the fatal shooting. The live stream abruptly ends when another person picks up her phone and stops the recording. Gender-based violence is a serious issue in Mexico, where the United Nations reports that an average of 10 women or girls are murdered daily by partners or family members. And here in Africa, the Gambian government has announced an investigation into the sale of assets seized from former President Yahya Jammeh following widespread public concerns. Some of the assets, including livestock and luxury vehicles, were sold off while the panel was still investigating the wealth Jammeh amassed during his 22-year rule. A newspaper investigation exposed alleged irregularities and an apparent lack of transparency in the sale of the assets, sparking protests organized by young people. In a televised address, President Adama Barrow pledged full transparency in the probe, saying assets recovered belonged to the people. Jammeh, who seized power in a 1994 coup, is accused of orchestrating the huge theft of government funds as well as extensive human rights abuses, including killing and jailing his critics. Business news now. Nigeria's inflation dropped to 23.7% in April from 24.23% in March 2025. The National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, disclosed this in its April Consumer Price Index and inflation data released on Thursday. The figure showed that Nigeria's inflation cooled off by 1.86% on a month-on-month basis. Similarly, the food inflation rate in April stood at 21.26%. The latest CPI data comes ahead of the Central Bank of Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee meeting slated for May 19 and 20, 2025. Recall that Nigeria's inflation rose to 24.23% in March for the first time after CPI rebase in January 2025. Well, still in business news, lawmakers have cautioned the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, against raising interest rates beyond the current figure of 27.5% in its bid to curb inflation. This call comes ahead of the CBN's 300th Monetary Policy Committee meeting scheduled for next week. At its 299th meeting in February, the Cardoso-led Monetary Policy Committee held rates steady at 27.5%, maintaining the position it stood at during its last meeting in November 2024. Speaking during a meeting with the Statistician General of the Federation and Chief Executive Officer of the National Bureau of Statistics, Adeyemi Adeniran, Chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on National Planning and Economic Development, Boyega Ishaka, stated that high interest rates, have negatively impacted the manufacturing, agriculture, and small and medium enterprise sectors. He noted that the CBN's policy has yielded great results as the economy is getting stabilized and confidence is being restored, but there is a need for caution. Elsewhere in business, Walmart is preparing to raise prices in the U.S. as its own costs increase as a result of the new tariffs on imports imposed by President Donald Trump. The plans by the world's largest retailer come as White House announcements in recent weeks have resulted in most goods from around the world facing new import taxes of at least 10%, with products from China facing higher duties of at least 30%. Reporting to investors on the firm's performance, Chief Executive Doug McMillon said he was grateful that the Trump administration had for now suspended plans for more aggressive levies. Sports news now. Amajita of South Africa have qualified for the final of the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations after defeating Nigeria's Flying Eagles 1-0 in the first semi-finals. Despite playing most parts of the game on the back foot, South Africa came out tops thanks to a howler by Flying Eagles goalkeeper Ajay Yakub, who replaced the injured Ebenezer Harcourt. This is the first time the South Africans will reach the final since the 1997 edition, where they finished second. The Flying Eagles will now face either Morocco or hosts Egypt in the third-placed playoff on Sunday, May 18, in Cairo. Meantime, Tottenham captain Son Heung-min has filed a criminal complaint with the South Korean police for being the victim of an alleged blackmail plot. He filed the complaint after it was reported that a woman threatened him with a false pregnancy claim. Gangnam Police Station in Southern Seoul said it had detained a woman in her 20s and a man in his 40s on suspicion of extortion and attempted extortion. The woman is alleged to have approached Son last year, claiming she was carrying his child. She reportedly demanded money to stay silent. The man then allegedly followed up with him in March, trying to get money. And in the world of entertainment now, the police has rearranged controversial social media influencer Martins Otse, popularly known as Very Dark Man, before a federal high court in Abuja for allegedly cyberbullying Nollywood actresses Iyabo Ojo and Tonto Dike. The Very Dark Man is also accused of cyberbullying Nigerian producer and singer Samuel Ogwachuba, popularly called Sam Clef, among others. VDM was rearranged before Justice Musa Liman on a 5-count charge to which he pleaded not guilty. Recall that VDM was first arraigned on the 22nd of May 2024 before Justice Mobolaji Olajuwon for the same offenses. He was remanded in custody but later granted bail of 10 million naira on the 10th of June 2024. And elsewhere in entertainment news, Cassie has claimed that Diddy wanted to hurt Kid Cudi after he discovered they were in a relationship. Continuing her testimony in Diddy's sex trafficking trial, the singer revealed that she began dating Cudi in 2011 while she and the Bad Boy Records were not in the greatest place. She testified that Diddy discovered her relationship with the rapper during a freak-off session after he went through her phone and found emails that she sent to a member of his staff. Earlier in her testimony, Cassie claimed that Diddy once stopped a freak-off session in an attempt to confront old rival Suge Knight. So wrap on News Hour. But before we go, a quick look at the headlines. We told you that representatives to investigate error in 2025 UTME. Also, Ohaneze rejects a JAMB receipt plan. Representatives move to make voting compulsory for all Nigerians. And Senate sets up 20-man committee for National Security Summit. Also, federal government dismisses alleged illegal deductions from student loans. An appeal court reserves judgments in EduGov election dispute. On the foreign scene, Israeli strikes across Gaza kill 114 people. And in business news, Nigeria's inflation rate drops to 23.7%. In sports news, South Africa beat Flying Eagles to reach first final in 28 years. And in the world of entertainment, police rearraign Very Dark Man. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV, and on other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. I'm Vivian Oguche, and thank you for joining us.